So we're going to take the next little while to talk about Tier 2 and then Tier 3. And you've already got a little bit of information about Tier 2. So it's basically the tier where we're looking at targeted interventions. So what small group interventions can we provide to support students? So I can't remember your name. You talked a little bit about check-in, check-out, and that's actually no, that's good. So it's great. So we're talking about what can we do and how can we support students. Check-in, check-out is one of those things. So we'll go through these slides. So we're always like monitoring students, like our programs, whatever our Tier 2 programs are, our targeted interventions, because we want to make sure that we're using things that are successful for students. We don't want to have an after-school program that's not really changing grades or helping with attendance or homework or whatever skill the student might be deficit in. We want to make sure that it's actually increasing our academic and behavioral outcomes for students. So we're constantly doing that progress monitoring. Okay, so some things that we need to know about our Tier 2 interventions is that we serve multiple students. So we're saying we serve about 15 to 25 students. And it's something that we can do like quickly. Like we can quickly say go to the after school program, or we can put you in check-in, check-out. Another one is Check and Connect. We can, have some type of mentoring program. It has to be something that's easy for teachers to do, because if not, it's not probably going to be very successful. And then it's also a program that everybody knows about in the school. So you should know about what those targeted interventions are at your site, so that when you see a student that might need something, you can at least know like your intervention specialists. Those are the go-to people that might know about whatever interventions you have at that site. Some of those major features are that it's always available to students, and that you can make it happen within 3 days or 72 hours. Once again, it's a low effort, and it's consistent with school-wide behavior. So you'll see in our check-in, check-out system, like our whole responsible, respectful, safe, that we're going to use those same language as we support students in all the tiers that the students might need support in. It's implemented by all staff, so everyone knows about it. The front office people, they might kind of help support some of our systems, our counselors, our, campus supervisors. They're all kind of have some type of knowledge about our intervention. And it's not something that we can mandate students to attend. It's a choice. We want to encourage students to attend, but we can't make them, because we know when we make students, it's probably not going to be successful. And then we're always, we not only monitor individualized students, but like I said, we're monitoring the program to see if it's an effective intervention. So the first one that we'll talk about is the check-in, check-out program, which is a highly, it's research-based, and it's a highly effective intervention. So basically, every 6 times a day, and I don't want to say periods because every school, some of them don't meet with their students every day, but every 6 times within the school day, we're checking in with students. So we're looking at those safety, responsibility, and being respectful. And it's more about giving students the attention and time and building that relationship with students that they need throughout the day. So this is what it looks like. The chart is that we figure out who's going to be our student that might be referred for check-in, check-out. We meet with the parents and the staff that might be participating. Basically, where somebody is checking in with a student in the morning, the teachers or school staff is giving feedback throughout the school day, like 6 times. And then at the end of the day, someone is checking out and saying, you met maybe 80% of your goals, you did a great job. Or maybe tomorrow, maybe you can try to reach this percentage. So it's continually monitoring their progress, how they're doing, and then also providing parent feedback. And we find that a lot of times our students that might need more support, they don't have as much support at home. So we don't like punish students when they don't return the parent feedback, but we're just providing that as an additional support to students. So we're always like looking to summarize our data. We have a whole system where we're inputting it and looking at how students are doing. Should we continue the program? Should we revise it? Should we scale it back? And how can we make sure students have enough skills so that they can exit the program and go back to the Tier 1 without the interventions? So why does check-in, So why does check-in, check-out work, and why is it effective? There's 3 main reasons. It's because we increase the structure that students have throughout the day. We're reminding them to be responsible. Maybe that's turning in your homework or bringing your pencils, as we described, whatever that might be. We're just always setting them up and providing that structure to do that, and letting them have the choice whether they want to participate or not. So some days students might just choose to have a bad day, but we're at least setting those pieces up for them. And then we're always giving them feedback. We're always letting them know. And we don't want teachers to spend a lot of time, maybe like 30 seconds, to think about how the student did. And she talked a little bit about it. It's typically like a 3 scale, like either you get 0 points, 1 point, or 2 points. So you're just quickly making that decision and moving on to the next student. It shouldn't take, like we said, a lot of effort or thought. So here's an example of a check-in, check-out card. Every school is going to look a little bit different. And how they set up their systems. You'll see in some schools they'll have the attendance people. Depending on how your school is set up, they'll be the person to check in with a student in the morning. In other schools it might be the community liaison or a teacher. So you'll find out what your program is at your school, but the idea is that you get this card, and it's this system where you might be asking to rate the student every period. And the idea is that you're not going to that student, that they're coming up to you with a card and asking for that positive feedback. So check and connect. So this is another intervention. It's also research-based, and it's basically a mentor program. So for 2 years, an adult on campus will be paired with a student, and they're always meeting with them, asking them about their grades, how their behavior, social stuff, and just kind of always checking in, just building that relationship, because research finds also that students who have one positive relationship on campus, they tend to do better in school. So it's always looking how to check and then connect with those students. So they might send an email out who would be willing to do this. So this might be something you can get involved in if you'd like. So the Tier 3. So our Tier 3 students are students that need a lot of, as we talked about, that 3 to 5%, and they need a lot of individualized support. So these are the students that we see frequently, and we've oftentimes tried a lot of different things, so they'll need continual support. So typically, when we serve these students, we want to provide some type of assessment, and I'm not talking about a special ed assessment per se, but just some type of, like, how are they doing? What are their grades like? Looking at the whole child. What is their home life like? And finding out what intervention we might choose. For the purpose of today, we're going to talk a little bit about the function-based interventions, but we also have like individual counseling, like I talked about earlier, and we also have other types of interventions that might not be function-based. So Tier 3 is for students who they've basically gone through the Tier 1 and the Tier 2 type of interventions, and they haven't responded. So for those Tier 3 students, we need to look, like I said, at the whole child. And typically it takes like a team of people. So we want to get like our behavior specialist, maybe our school psychologist involved, or maybe our special ed staff, or someone, our intervention specialist that knows a little bit about behavior. And then also look at the context. So like someone mentioned earlier, are they just getting in trouble in math class, or maybe just at the beginning of the day, or maybe it's all with male teachers. So looking at the whole, all the pieces of the puzzle, and then based on that, creating some type of what we call functional based assessment. So we look at what's the function of their behavior. What is their behavior communicating to us or telling us? Is it telling us they want more attention, or maybe they want to escape something? So function-based support is basically, it comes from our behaviorists, like applied behavior analysis, and it looks at the whole environment, and it really emphasizes a purpose, like I already said, that the behavior is communicating something to us, and then we look at ways to kind of support and train the student so that they can have their needs met through that communication. And so basically, when we see a problem behavior, it can either speak to us that the student wants to get or obtain something, or escape or avoid something. So, you know, a student maybe, like I said, yells out a profanity. So oftentimes they might be trying to get attention, correct? Or get either adult attention or peer attention. A student maybe rips up a piece of paper, so they might be trying to escape maybe a test or a writing prompt or something. So we look at the problem behavior. Are they trying to get something out of it? Are they trying to avoid something? And are they trying to get something social, like a friend, you know, for friends? Or, you know, are they trying to escape an activity? And then is it adult or peer? So this is kind of some basics on function of behavior. And this also helps us when we think about this, when we fill out our office discipline referral and look at those perceived motivations. It's all basically the same stuff. So it's just training all of us to look at students that when they behave a certain way, what are they really trying to tell us? So some of the parts of those, what we call functional behavior assessments, have to do with you might have someone on your site coming to you, asking to interview you, asking you more in-depth information about the problem behavior so that they can find out, like, where is it happening, when is it most likely to occur, coming up with a hypothesis statement, and then creating those specific plan to teach and support the student. So 4 of the key things to these Tier 3 interventions are that it's an instructional approach. So we want to teach kids, they're deficient in some type of area for a reason, and we want to teach them how we want them to behave. We want to learn how to intervene early in that escalation cycle. And then also we want to provide them respect, because we know that oftentimes they might come from, and you'll hear more about, like, trauma. A lot of kids of our students in our district are exposed to lots of trauma. So how can we try to be respectful and find alternative ways on dealing with students? I think those are the key pieces that we need to think about when we think about our Tier 3 students. So I want to show you one, maybe we'll just do a little bit of review, but and then I want to show you one more video about that we put together. Actually, we're going to show it, you might see it again at some of our other sites, about PBIS, and it kind of just wraps up everything that we've talked about. And then I want to share with you guys, to wrap it up, a video that we just put together, and like I said, you might see it again, but it's just a good way to summarize what we've talked about